Welcome to this episode of Vote Like a Texan. We're in the Boerne Independent School District, and we're talking to current board member Rich Sena, who is decided to run again for school board in Boerne ISD. And we're excited to dive into what a school board member does, why it's so important, and then specifically in Boerne, how's that played out over the growth that we've seen in the region. So, Rich, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Justin.
What inspired you to run again for school board in Boerne?
Well, I enjoy public service, and it has been the honor of a lifetime to serve our community as a trustee for Boerne ISD. I have two children of my own. I've got two grandchildren that within a few short years will be entering our schools. But I feel, as my fellow trustees feel, that I have 11,200 children because that's the number of kids in our district. And I care about their future, and no amount of time dedicated to this volunteer position is adequate to support them in achieving their dreams. The other thing I think I bring to the table is a lot of institutional knowledge built up over the terms that I've served on the board. I've worked with three different superintendents, and that institutional knowledge, that knowledge of history, of our community culture that we're trying to retain is very, very key in guiding us with future decisions. So those are a combination of all the reasons. And I've got the same level or more passion and energy and the time available, quite frankly, to dedicate to board service. It's a significant amount of time, but I consider it a labor of love. In fact, I don't even consider it a labor. It's something I really enjoy doing.
And it is a volunteer role, similar to my conversations with other candidates and public officials. People sometimes think there's compensation or benefit, but really there's not. It is truly a service to your community.
You know, when I go into a classroom and I see the progress that kids have made, that's the payment you get.
Yeah.
It's not compensation. I mean, it probably cost me a lot of money to be a trustee, you know?
I'm certain it could. What You've seen the district grow in your time in the community and your time in service of the board, but over the last decade, what have we seen that number of students? You said we're at 11,200 now, but where has it been in the past decade?
Well, when I first got on the board in 2014, we were at 7,200 students. So we've gained 4,000 students in my time on the board. When my oldest child started at Fabre Elementary in 1992, we were at 3,200 students, I believe. So we've not quite quadrupled in 33 years, but we close to it. So it's been a lot of growth. The community has always supported us in managing that growth. But that's really, really key. And one of the challenges in growth is holding on to the values and the culture that you have in your community. When I see some of the districts in North Texas like Prosper that are doubling every 5 to 7 years, I don't know how you hold on to a culture in a situation like that. Traditions like the homecoming parade are just so important to keep. So that and BOA, Burning Outdoor Academy, that are so important to our families that they look forward to. Parents went through an experience and they want their kids to go through the same experience. So growth has been a challenge, but I think Boerne remains a wonderful, wonderful community. What I like to share is that we are one of the most beautiful communities in the most incredible state in the greatest nation in the only world that we know of. And that's Boerne, Texas. We are blessed and lucky to be here.
Well, and to that point, you're a first generation American, and that's a conversation that's being had across the country. But how did that influence your view of education, maybe generationally, and then to the service today?
For me, it was huge. The whole focus of my family was to become educated and become a productive citizen in America. My grandparents all came from the same small village in southern Italy. My dad joined them when he was 14 years old. He came here. My mom was born shortly after her parents arrived here. And of course, neither of my parents spoke English when they started school. But my grandparents, despite their lack of formal education, were constantly stressing the value of education and learning because that was the meal ticket to get ahead in our great nation. And I learned so much from my parents, so much, but two things that stand out are, number one, always be grateful, love and revere America, always be grateful, and give back to the nation and community that has given us so much opportunity. And that's really driven me, whether it's public service in terms of being on the board of the Hill Country Pregnancy Care Center, or being a conservative columnist for the Boerne Star, or being a Rotarian, or the president of various civic groups. I've always believed in giving back because the Lord has blessed me with prosperity and a mind to use, and I want to use that to help other people. I always had to show my report cards to my grandparents, and if they were satisfied, and they generally were, I would get, 50 cents to go buy a nice ice cream sundae at my favorite ice cream store. So I associated, achievement with rewards. And hopefully I've instilled that in my own children and my grandchildren. It's a joy to see my 2-year-old granddaughter already knows all the letters, the numbers up to 10, and it's fun watching them.
Absolutely is. It's amazing how quickly they
Yeah.
grow. Boerne ISD is a unique school district in our state, and it's one of the top school districts in the state through many measures. But how did that come to be? How have we excelled as a district?
In many ways, it starts out with a supportive community, people that believe in the value of education. And we have that here in Boerne. That's number one. Number two, you need good governance and you need good leadership. Governance is so key because throughout the state of Texas, there are a lot of districts that don't exhibit good governance, and there's infighting and division and acrimony, and it's very negative. It's not productive. We have to keep our eyes focused on the children, educating our students. That is our primary, that is our why. That's why we do what we do. And so in our district, through good boards, good leadership, cascades all the way down. Then, of course, developing and supporting your teaching staff, because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where education happens in the classroom. So you really have to support what goes on there through proper teacher development, good recruiting, do everything in your power to retain talented educators. That's extremely important. It's a challenge in this day and age. But it is something that's super, super critical. So all those, and then the last thing I would say is have standards. And standards are not what we state, they're what we accept. And we don't like the idea of being a B-rated district. We're an A-rated district, and we have been every year since the rating system began. We are one of only 31 districts out of over 1,200 in the state of Texas that can make that claim. We are the only one in San Antonio with more than 1,000 kids that can make that claim. Other districts that compete with us, whether it's Alamo Heights, Dripping Springs, Lake Travis, we outperform them all, and we have higher rates of poverty than they do. So I think we give a complete education, and it's just so exciting to talk about. And all of our schools excel. They all do, all 13 of them.
Well, it's really interesting, and I think what you're talking about with retaining talent is an important one because what Boerne ISD has been able to develop over the last decade or so is the PTech program. And that's enabling kids, if I'm understanding it correctly, to graduate with a college degree from high school.
Right. What PTech stands for is Pathways in Technology Early College High School. It's becoming increasingly common across the state of Texas. Back in 2022, the growth was continuing, so we either had to contemplate building a third high school, which was not really the way to go because it's extremely expensive to build and extremely expensive to run. So what we did instead was focused on adding a new wing to each of our 2 high schools and adding the P-Tech. So at Boerne High School, we've got health careers, early college high school, and at Champion, we've got cybersecurity. We're looking at to see how we could possibly expand that. We've got affiliations with various college systems where our kids can get these associate's degrees. Now, when they graduate from high school, they'll have a high school diploma and they'll have an associate's degree. So they're halfway through the college experience, saving them and their family thousands of dollars. You hear some of these politicians talk about free this, free that. There's nothing free. There are some fees associated for parents and students with P-Tech, but it pales in comparison to the financial benefit they get. Also, through our dual credit programs, we have students leaving high school with 60, 70 hours of college credits. So it really, really helps them out a lot and offers some academic options. And it's something that really attracts people to our district.
Absolutely. What a savings for the family to come in and not have those first 2 years of college. 60 credit hours is a lot of time and a lot of money, because that also is time that you're renting an apartment or a dorm, more books that you're having to put, like the cost adds up quickly. So, what an incredible benefit. But I also see you saving the taxpayers money in Boerne ISD. And I think the claim is that there's $85 million of savings that we've seen in Boerne ISD. Walk me through, how does that happen?
Okay, we've had over the past 30 years approximately 6 bonds. In the last 4 years, we paid off the 99 bond, which built Middle School South and Kendall Elementary. We've paid off the '02 bond. We're only a couple of years away from paying off the '04 bond, which built Champion High School, major renovations to Boerne, and built Cibolo Creek. But what we've done is we've refinanced a lot of these debt series at lower interest rates. When you strike one, the anvil's hot. And if we have good rates available, we'll refinance it. We just did that last month, where we took the 2016 series, which helped build Voss Middle School, Herf Elementary, and Van Robb Elementary. Not only did we pay down $17 million of debt before it was scheduled, which in turn saves future interest payments, we refinanced at a lower rate. So we saved about $25 million of future interest payments just on that one series. And over the next 2 years, the vast majority, I would say close to 3/4 of our remaining interest on all of our bonds, will be open to refinancing at lower rates. So we will save in the coming couple of years millions of dollars between early payoff of debt and significant interest savings. We have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. They're entrusting us to spend this money. And on the '22 bond, we've come in under budget. Of 32 completed projects, we've come in under budget on 31 of them. One was only $3,000, but hey, it was still under budget. So that's good stewardship and management of tax dollars.
And how does that translate into a better school, stronger teaching facilities, stronger employees? I have to think that that savings converts into benefit to the student.
Well, it really does, but there's two main taxes that support school districts. One is the maintenance and operation tax, which funds everyday expenditures. The other one is the interest and sinking, which pays off the debt with the interest. Of 17 school districts in the Austin-San Antonio area, we have the second lowest interest and sinking tax rate of any of these fast growth districts. And once East Central School District sells the rest of their bonds that were approved by voters just last November, we could very well have the lowest tax rate. So I think we get a lot of a bang for our buck. On the maintenance and operations side, the everyday expenditures, based on state funding formulas, we have $3,000 less per student to support our schools. That's based on state funding formulas, which essentially caps what you can spend. Well, that's a lot of money. So we have to be efficient, and we're used to doing more with less. But the most important thing is that we do the best we can to support our employees. Based on the successful Vader last November, that allowed us to give starting wages to hourly workers of at least $15 an hour. At Kendall County, it's $18 an hour, Kendall County employees, but at least we got ours up to 15. We're more competitive. We're going to be able to attract and retain more employees. And our hardworking teachers, who do a wonderful, excellent job for us, got some incremental money as well. We've been very, very active. I've testified many, many times in Austin on behalf of our teachers, for the teacher retention allotment, which was proposed by the leader of the Senate Education Committee. It was not a popular thing in the Texas House. We pushed for it. So our hardworking teachers with more than 2 years of service got nice raises from that, along with what then local voters approved last November. You can never do enough for your staff. As the only A-rated medium large district in our area, they deserve it, and I'm glad we're able to produce that for them.
When we're talking about tax money, one of the terms that I've heard throughout my lifetime is Robin Hood. And how has that impacted Bernie? Because there is um, a constant concern that our tax money is leaving our district. And is that the case?
That had been the case for 17 years. That was a long,
Okay.
hard struggle. Starting in 2005, Boerne ISD, as a property wealthy district, started sending money to the state. Now, what happened was the state says, hey, based on funding formulas, here's what you're entitled to have. And you can't lower your tax rate more than a certain amount. So anything that's generated over that, the state comes in and swoops it up. So what was happening in the state of Texas was property values would go up. People pay more in school taxes. The state comes in and grabs some of the money, and then local districts get the blame. In 2019, $500 for the average valued home in Boerne ISD, $500 in school taxes was taken from us in the form of Robin Hood. From 2005 to 2022, we paid over $120 million in what they call recapture Robin Hood. Basically, I call it taxation theft. Okay. We
Right.
fought that long and hard, and I'm proud to say I was one of the leading fighters out of our community in organizing advocacy trips to Austin, testifying before the legislature, meeting one-on-one with countless numbers of legislators. It was a fight that took 7 years to win. We no longer pay that insidious Robin Hood tax. We've been out of it for 3 years, and it's forecast that we will not go back in anytime soon that we know of. So we feel very good about that. And what that means is local tax dollars stay locally. That doesn't change the fact that we still have $3,000 less per student than the average district in Texas, which means we have to be efficient. And our trustees board last year issued a challenge to the administration. Money's tight. We spend about $10,000 per student, and if you compare it to local private schools, they're anywhere from 18 to 30,000. So we have to do, and we educate a whole categories of students that a lot of private schools don't take. So we have to be efficient. So we challenged our administration, and they identified $1.5 million in efficiencies and reductions in central office and administrative overhead. Well, that's $1.5 million that can go directly to the classroom to support our mission of educating our kids.
What does the future of Bernie ISD look like? Let's say over the next 4 years. What should we anticipate as a community that's continuing to grow?
Will grow. The growth has slowed down a little bit, which I think is good. It allows us to take a breath, pay off some of these past bonds. But also, when you grow at a slower rate, it's easier to integrate newcomers into your community culture, as opposed to what I mentioned earlier with the Prosper ISDs of the world, where they're doubling every 5 to 7 years. And that's important to us because we have a unique community. It's a wonderful community. And we have a great culture here. So I think we'll have modest growth, but beyond that, we will continue to look for ways in the career and technical education area, CTE, um, to give students academic options. Not everyone is designed for college. There's a metric the state uses called CCMR, College Career Military Readiness. We're at 95% of our students graduate being CCMR ready. The state average is just a hair over 80%. So we are well ahead of where the state is. And we made significant jumps in the last few years. So I think you will see, how do we use our resources to continue to expand the opportunities that our students have? And you will see a lot of folks will send their kids to maybe private schools through the 6th grade or the 8th grade. Then they switch them over to Bernie because the academic options we've got are just so much more vast, and the extracurricular options are just so much more vast. And we do it with a lot less money. So, I know there are folks that always think no matter what, they must be wasting money. Well, I'm sure there's always rooms for efficiencies, always. And you've got to have the attitude of continuous progress. How do we continue to get the maximum value for every dollar that we spend of the taxpayer dollar?
Well, Rich, it's been a pleasure to visit with you today. Where can people find more information about your campaign and what you're running for?
Well, my website is senaforbisd.com. I've got a Facebook page. We have a candidate forum this week, tomorrow night coming up. And I'll be out in the community meeting. I'm always out in the community meeting people. I love to talk about our district. I'm very proud of our district, but we also have to remain humble because there's always room for progress. Never rest on your laurels. There's always a way to improve. And I love serving. As I mentioned earlier, it's the honor of a lifetime to serve our community. I love this community. Boerne is a wonderful place. My children were here kindergarten through 12th grade. My daughter lives here. She teaches school in another district, but she lives here. My two granddaughters are going to go to school here. So we are Boerne people, and we love this town. And I just want to continue to serve and make us be the best that we can be.
I'm a Boerne High School graduate myself and excited to see this election uh, through. What day is the election for this
It's
role?
Saturday, May 2nd. But early voting
Okay.
starts on Monday, April 20th. The 21st is a holiday, San Jacinto Day, but then the 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 27th and 28th. There's two early voting locations within our district. One is the Fair Oaks Ranch City Police Department headquarters, and also the Kendall County Annex, which is across from Boerne High School. Those are two locations. Comfort is also available because they're having a school bond election there, but I don't know that many folks from Boerne are gonna head up there. But in any event, that's what it is. And then on election day, voting will be at either Boerne City Hall or once again Fair Oaks Ranch Police Department. So I encourage people to get educated on the issues, get out and vote. I would appreciate their vote. I would be humbled and grateful to receive support. And God bless Boerne. God bless Texas. God bless America. And vote like a Texan.
We appreciate it, and we will encourage everyone to get out for early voting at the end of April and May 2nd for the school board votes. So thank you, Rich, for your time today, and thank you for your
Thank you
service.
so much, Justin. Have a blessed day.